So number 30 on page 215, right? It's a division problem. So we all know that the first step is to make it a multiplication problem by the reciprocal. So I'm going to just rewrite this for now. Now I'm going to make it a multiplication problem, and I'm going to write the reciprocal. So I'm flipping it. Next step, start to factor. Well, you should be a little bit confused when you see this, because this is x to the fourth, and we have not factored those types of things. But your next thought should be, well, maybe I can factor out a common factor. And I can, because this has an x in it, this has an x in it, this has an x in it. I can factor out an x squared, right? Each of these terms has at least an x squared in it. So, factor that out. And we're left with x squared plus x minus 30. Well, that's nice because that's a quadratic, and we know how to factor quadratics. Now, in the denominator, we have a nice quadratic. I'm just going to rewrite it for now, and I'm going to save all my quadratics to factor at once. Over here, I have a difference of 2 squares. Well, that's a nice quadratic, so for right now, I'm just going to rewrite it. X squared minus 36. And in the denominator, we should be a little bit nervous because this is x to the third. And we don't know how to factor those. But we can look for a common factor and factor out an x. So we're left with x squared plus x minus 30. Well, interestingly, that's exactly what we have over here, right? This and this are exactly the same. So we could cancel those out. However, we have to account for our restricted domain. Remember where we take every single factor in the denominator? So even though those are the same and they will cancel out eventually, we're going to need to factor them out because we're going to have to find all the restricted values of our domain. So we still have some work to do. All right, so let's go ahead and factor everything. I have x squared. This is going to factor into x plus 6 and x minus 5. Right? That all just depends on how good at factoring you're getting. This denominator would factor into x plus 3 and x minus 6. Over here, we have a difference of 2 squares on top. That's going to factor into x plus 6 and x minus 6. And on the bottom over here, I'll write my x, and then this is the same as top left, and we know that that factored into x plus 6 and x minus 5. So I've done all of my factoring now. And that, of course, the factoring is the toughest part, I think. So now I can cancel out like terms. All right, there's an x minus 6 and an x minus 6. There's an x plus 6 and an x plus 6. There's an x minus 5 and an x minus 5. I have an x squared up here. I can factor x squared divided by this x. So that's going to be gone. It's going to become just an x. And this x is going to be gone. So what do I have left now? I have an x plus 6 over an x plus 3. Oh, yep, I have this other x up here. There we go. Now I have to find my domain. Now I know that my domain is going to equal all real numbers, but x cannot equal, and I have to find what x cannot equal. So I'm going back, and I'm looking at all of these. Right? So let's take them one at a time. Here, x cannot equal -3, right? Okay, so cannot equal -3. Here, x cannot equal +6. Okay? Here, x cannot equal 0. Here, x cannot equal negative 6. All right, so maybe I'll call this plus and minus 6. And here, x cannot equal positive 5. So those are all the restricted values in my domain. So I've simplified it, and I've written down my domain, and now we're done.